Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to my channel if you're new. Welcome back if you're not. Today we're gonna be focusing on the application config of our app. Now, there's about two ways you can go about doing this. You can either do the setup within web.xml file, or you can use a Java class to do that. Now, I'm gonna go with doing it within a Java class because it's gonna be much easier in my opinion. So with that being said, oh, by the way, I need to address something. In the last video, there was a bit of an error here within my pom.xml file, and that was due to the version that was set up here within the XML file. So initially, this was set to 2.4.2. So looks like there was an issue in regards to that. So I changed it back to 2.4.1. So if you're also having the exact same error, just do that. Just change the version over there to 2.4.1. Okay, now with that being said, here within my source folder main Java file, Java folder, I'm going to create a folder here which is going to contain our application config class. So I'm just going to right click there and then create a new package. And I'm just going to name it config. And then within there, I'm just going to create a new class. And then I'll just say application config. Okay, so then within this class, for it to work, we need to extend the web MVC configuration support. So what I'll do is, I think it's uh, MVC configuration support, which is that over there. All right. So now the first thing we need to do is we need to, for Spring to know that this is our configuration class, we need to add the annotation uh, configuration. And then the other thing we need to do is we need to add our component scan. So with that, I have to annotate and say add component scan. And then within the braces over there, I'm going to say base package, base package. And then to make this simple, I'm going to just copy the package folder, the name. So I'll say refactor, rename. I'm just going to copy that there and then just click cancel and then paste it within there. So basically with this, the system will know then it needs to scan within this particular package over here for all of our configuration and classes, etc. All right, so now the other thing that we need to add within our class here is our resource handler. So for that, I have to type add uh, resource handler. Okay, so now with this added here, basically with this, what we're gonna do is, let me just delete that. I'll say registry dot add resource handler. So basically this is how we're going to let Spring know that if whenever it actually, let me just type it out and then I'll explain after that. So what I need to do is I'm going to add CSS and then do that, and then I'm also going to add images like that, and then I'm also going to add a JS folder. I'm just gonna name it JS and then do that. Okay, then the other thing we need to add, I'm just gonna indent there on the next line, and then the locations, basically all our resource folders like CSS, images folders, and JavaScript folders, they're gonna be located within here, within the resource folder, then the static folder. So here within this add resource location, what I'm gonna type there is the following. So I'm gonna say class path, and then I'm gonna say static then CSS, and that's it. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the images and JS folder. So I'm just gonna copy that there, and then I'm gonna change that to images, and then do the exact same thing for the JS folder. Change that to JS, and I think that's it. So now, basically, what's happening here is that once we boot up the our application over here, we're basically telling Spring that any any folders that you see that have these names, CSS, images, and JS, you can find them within this folder, the static CSS, the static and then CSS folder, and same goes for the JS and images folder. By default, oh, sorry man, see there's an extra curly braces there. So by default, the system will load up this resource folder as the one folder where it will locate our static files like CSS files, images, and JS files, etc. So, but we are just basically telling it here that look, once you load this resource folder, check within the static and the check within the static folder for all the CSS, images, and JS folders, because that's where we will be setting up all our files for style sheets and so forth. So yeah, basically when it sees the JS, when it renders the JSP files, it's basically when it sees all these paths over here, it will know that it will need to look into those folders for that. Now I'm just gonna leave a comment here and say end of resource uh, handler. Okay, all right. So now the other thing we need to set up here within our application config, I mean our configuration class, is also the view resolver. So for that, I'm gonna say internal resource view resolver. Actually, sorry about that. Let me just say and then we'll just call it the view resolver, and then within here what we're gonna do is internal resource view resolver, and then I'm just gonna name it JSP view resolver. Okay, okay. So now what we need to do now is set up the prefix for where it will find our views and so forth. So for that, what I'm gonna say is view resolver. Oh, sorry, JSP view resolver dot set prefix. So now by default, the for JSPs, the Tomcat container is gonna look for this particular folder path. So it's gonna be web um, inf, and then it's gonna look. I'm gonna create another folder within this folder here where it's gonna be like JSP, and then I'm gonna say that. And then the other thing I need to set up is the suffix. So it's JSP resolver dot set um, suffix, which is going to be the extension of our file, which is going to be .jsp. And then the other thing we need to load due to this is JSP view resolver dot set the view. We're gonna set the view class with this, which is going to be JSTL view class. Okay, so remember this JSTL view class here is basically what we imported from our our what you call it, our dependency, which is about over here. So we need this in order for the system to work with JSP files. And then from there on, we're just gonna return the JSP view resolver over there. All right. I just want to leave a comment over here and say okay. So just to explain again, we're basically telling Spring that when it has to render the views, just let me just make a correction there. When it needs to render the views, it needs to check within the web.inf file, and then also look for that. I mean web.inf folder, and then also look for the JSP folder as well. And then any file that you find within there, it's going to have the extension of .jsp, and then from there with the JSTL view class, it's going to be able to render all our views in regards to that. So now the other thing we need to create um, here within our main folder here is another directory, which is going to be web app, and then within here we're going to create the web inf folder, and then within the web.inf folder we then create the JSP folder. So if you're wondering, by default, Tomcat is going to look for a folder called web app, and then it knows that it needs to look within this particular folder for the web.inf and JSP files. JSP, since we set them up over here. All right. So with that being said, let's first create a new file within here, and that is going to be our index. So I'm going to say index.jsp. Okay. Sorry about that. I made a mistake. Name index.jsp. All right. Now that we've created this file, we need to test and see if it's going to load all of our resources. Now, in terms of our resources, we need to copy all of the CSS and all the files that we're going to need that we created within the markup stage. So meaning that I'm gonna have to copy this over here um, within the within my resource folder. I'm gonna copy the markup that we did within the first couple of videos. So I'm gonna first start off here with the index page, copy this, and then I'm gonna paste it here within the index.jsp file we just created. All right, now with this being done, we then need to copy our CSS files into the static folder over there. So now I'm going to take all of these three files over here, and then I'm going to paste them within my static folder there. All right, let's just give it a couple of minutes to copy everything, and then we'll be back once it's done. Okay, so our files are done copying. So as you can see within the static folder, we have the CSS, images, and JS folders that we're going to need. Now, this again, as you can see, the names of these folders have to be the exact same as what you've named over here. So just remember to make sure of that. All right. So with that being said, the other thing that I wanted to create here within the packages folder here, I'm going to create our first controller. So with that, I'm going to create a directory, and then I'm going to name it controllers. And then I'm going to create my first controller, which is going to be index controller. All right. And then I have to annotate it as controller. Okay. So now I'm going to create the index controller for our landing page. So with that, I'm going to say public, and then I'm going to use model and view. Then I'll say get index, and then I have to annotate this as a get mapping, which is going to be that. So within here, I'm going to say model and view, and I'll say index view, and then just say model and view, and then I'm going to give it the name there, which is going to be index. And again, remember this name here has to be exactly as what you've named here within the within your JSP file. And then from there on, let me just create another attribute there, which is going to be index view dot add object. And then I'm going to name this page title. And then with this, I'm going to say home. And then I'll say, I also want to put a system. I want to put out a message within our console there to show that we are in the right controller. So with that, I'll just say in index controller or page. Okay, and then from there on, we're going to return the index view. Okay, so now to get this page title over here within the index page, what I'll do over there on the title, I'll say I'm going to use an expression to point to display. So I'm going to say that, and then curly braces, and then paste that. Okay, so I think that's it for now. Just to test out to see if our configuration worked. I'm then now going to run this application. So let's just hope everything went well. So I'm going to come here within the plugins, and then Spring Boot, and then oh, by the way, before I run this application, there's one thing I want to change. Here within the properties file, I want to change the IP address, which is going to be 171, and then I'm also going to change the port, which equals to, I'm just going to say 870. All right, so now let's run the app and see if it runs. So I'm going to do that by running the plugin, the Spring Boot plugin over here, which is going to load up the Tomcat server for us. Let me just pause the video for the time being while it loads up. All right, guys, so our server is done loading up. Just so before we check out the page, as you can see here, currently there are no errors. So if we just looked here, everything should have started up correctly. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten to this point over here. So now here within our browser, I'm gonna type in the IP address there, and then change that to 8070. Remember, this is what we set up. This is what we set up here within our application.properties file. So let's just see if it will load up. Okay, so it seems like there's an issue. So let's check out what the error is. Okay, Java servlet could not resolve view name index in servlet with name dispatcher servlet. All right, so it seems like there's a bit of an issue there. Just one moment for me, please. All right, guys, I'm back. Okay, I found what the issue was. The reason our application, I mean our app couldn't resolve the view was that I forgot to actually annotate our view resolver here with the bean annotation. So if you it was an oversight on my part. So just remember to annotate your view resolver as a bean class. So it was then now able to render the view for us. As you can see, the our message is displaying there. Um, with the message that we set up within our what you call it, our controller. So there it is there. And then with that being said, it was able to render our landing page. So as you can see there at the top, we're using the exact same server configs that we used here within our application properties file. So yeah, I think so far we've done everything right. So yeah, that was the only part that I forgot. So now we are able to render our views, and because we've also set up our CSS and static files, the server is now able to pick up the our resources within our static folder over here. If it didn't, we were going to see some errors over here. You will get to see some. I'll show within when we create other views, but for now everything is running accordingly. For those of you who haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe if you've liked what you've seen so far within this video. And again, guys, I appreciate any support. But that's it for our video today. I'll see you guys within the next video. Cheers for now.